There are a ton of people here today. I don't think I've ever seen this many people in the water at one time, but the water is 76 degrees and it's just fabulous here. Welcome to Warren Dunes State Park. Warren Dunes State Park is located in southwestern Michigan, and it's pretty close to the Indiana border. And in fact, so many visitors to this park are not just from Michigan, but from Indiana and Illinois as well, just because it is so close to those other states.
Yeah, this is probably the state park where I've seen the most out-of-state license plates, but I'm sure that's because it is right near the border. And I think that also lends to why it's considered one of the busier parks, and I think I saw that it was listed as top 5 for camping.
Yeah, it draws a lot of people from out of state because of the beach, really. I mean, that's one of its biggest draws. It's right on Lake Michigan. It's got 3 miles of sandy shoreline, some gorgeous dunes, and I think there's a lot here for people to do, and that's why it's so popular.
Yeah, it's a big family park, I mean, just from what we've seen here, because you got nice campgrounds, you have the big dunes, you have a really big beach that people can enjoy. It's a really pretty area. Campground was full last night. I would imagine that's pretty common to see during the peak season. We're here in, what are we in, late July?
Late, yeah, so mid-July.
I've lost track of what day it is, let alone what month. But yeah, it seems like one of those places where families just like to come and hang out and go enjoy the beach and the water. The water was the warmest we've seen it so far this year.
The water was 76 degrees. I mean, that's been our high air temp for a long time. So the fact that Lake Michigan has been getting that warm. One thing we did hear from some locals, though, is we're used to going to a lot of the state parks that are on the beach in northern Michigan, and the water rarely gets that warm ever. But they said down here closer to the bottom of Lake Michigan, the Chicago shoreline area, it is a much warmer temperature. So they said that's actually pretty normal around here to get that high.
It is called Warren Dunes State Park, obviously because of the big dunes that are here. But the Warren part of it comes from Edward Warren, who has kind of a unique spot in history, I suppose. He invented the feather bone corset back in the 1800s to replace the whalebone corset. Apparently they started using turkey feather bones, which were lighter and easier to source.
Apparently the whalebones were hard and brittle, and whales weren't supposed to be hunted, and so they were, for whatever reason, yeah, turkeys were a much more reliable source, but they were also more lightweight, easy to manufacture. So sorry for all the women that had to wear those corsets back when, because, I'm just going with a tank top today, guys, sorry. But because of that, he created this invention, amassed a huge fortune, and became a big businessman in the area and nationwide, globally everywhere. But he lived here in the area, and he started buying up land. First, he bought some, I guess, woodland areas, some virgin pine nearby, and then he bought the dune lands, which the farmers didn't like because they kept trying to farm it. It wasn't usable land, and he realized what he had. He realized that he had this virgin forest area and these sand dunes that, while the people of the times didn't really think they were much, he had the vision and the foresight to realize that these were going to be cool places in the future.
And it's great that people like that existed in history and decided that we should preserve some of this land. Yeah. He started with Warren Woods. Well, that was what is now known as Warren Woods State Park, represents the first pieces of land that he bought, the forest land. And we're going to go visit Warren Woods later today to see that. And then he ended up buying the dunes, and that's what is now Warren Dunes State Park, which, as I understand, they started to develop into a state park in the early 1940s, and then World War II happened, and everything got put on hold, and then they completed it afterwards.
Right, they kept adding land as they went and more development. So the modern campground versus the dune area where the beach and the day use are, and so it kind of just evolved over time from his initial 200 acres to the 1900 that we have today. Just as they were able to go in and acquire land, there were some sand mining operations in this area, but again, from that ecological standpoint, people finally said enough's enough, the dunes are fragile, and the state was able to buy out the mining operation and attack it onto the state park.
There are about 6 miles of trails here at Warren Dunes, and not surprising, they all involve sand dunes.
Which means no bicycles, because they still are a protected natural area. And so while feet are perfectly fine. Bicycles would not be.
The trails are all kind of nature trails through the woods along the edge of a dune, or there's a couple spots where you're actually going up a dune.
Yeah, and I think we're not going to take it today, but I believe it drops you, one of them at least drops you at the top of the highest sand dune in this park was about 240 feet, if I remember correctly. And it's just a massive towering sand dune that overlooks Lake Michigan. It's what this park is known for.
Yeah, I assume it's a pretty great view if we had the energy to go up there today. And if you had a foot that was able to do it.
Yeah, I watched some people climbing it yesterday, and it was like huff and puff, and they'd stop and they'd go, and then kids are running down, and it's massive. It would be worth the view if you could hike up there, but we decided, as hot as it is and the sand as hot as it is, I'm gonna wait till like October before I try that one.
Well, and you're, just update, Jessie's getting better with her foot, but you still had strained Achilles, and you're starting to walk around a little bit without any support. I wouldn't count climbing a sand dune as
probably
good
not
therapy at this point.
Recommended at this point, no.
Yeah. But it's worth a trip out here to some of these trails, I think, to check them out. I'd like to, if somebody had the time to kind of wander around and see what's going on at the base of the dunes and maybe climb the dune. It could be fun. There are two campgrounds. One of them has 2 loops. So it's good-sized campgrounds. I think there's more than 200 sites here, right? Or almost 200?
There were, close to 200 sites in the modern campground, and then another 30-some in the rustic campground.
And it's mostly 20-30 amp. There's about a third of the modern campground that's been upgraded to 50 amp, so if you need that. The sites seem to be pretty nice overall. There's a variety of sizes, which you usually see in a state park. Some of them are pretty good size, though.
And I think there's a good amount of privacy along with them, too. There's still a lot of woods. There are some sites. Ours actually seems to be a much more sunny, open site. But if you're looking for more shade, there are a few in some of the areas that are more shaded. But you do find quite a bit of privacy between your neighbors. They're all dirt and grass. We're still in the dunes area, so there's no paved sites here. There are a few they call easy access. And so apparently those are what they're considering more of the handicap accessible, even though normally we see those as paved sites. But the couple we saw here were more open, more pull through. They're closer to the bathrooms. And so that's really all I saw here from like the accessibility standpoint.
Yeah, you noticed at the beach yesterday that they had tried with some of the accessibility
they
stuff,
tried.
right?
At the beach, they have a Moby wheelchair. So again, that's really cool. And there's a sign that says, rent it by the hour. They also had this, I don't know how to describe it, sort of a fabric, plasticky mat that extended from the sidewalk by the parking lot about a quarter of the way down the beach. But I noticed that it ended like smack dab in the middle of the beach, nowhere near the water. So if you were trying to get out to the beach, you could get to the beach, but you couldn't get all the way to the water unless you had the wheelchair. So like I said, they tried. I was finding that more people, just general people, were using the plastic walkway yesterday because the sand was so hot. So the minute they could, they were all jumping on it to walk up to the parking lot. Didn't see anybody actually using it for its intended purpose.
We are here on the hottest day we've had of the year so far. I think it was 97 yesterday we peaked at with, the heat index was well over 100. So thank goodness you didn't have to wear corsets anymore.
Right. Oh, Lord. Yeah, definitely not at the beach for sure.
Right. So it's, over 1,900 acres of state park that are here just in Warren Dunes. We have decent campgrounds, I thought, good campgrounds, nice beach, a lot of things for families to come and see. It is right near I-94, so I will mention
right by 194.
that you will hear the freeway. It's kind of a background white noise after a while. It was interesting to me that the rustic campground, you actually heard the noise more there because of its location.
Yeah, they're slightly closer to the main road just because of the way the configuration of the campground is. We're on the back of one of those 2 double loops, so closer to the dunes, and I think we're buffeted a little bit more with the trees here. But sitting around the campfire late last night about 11 o'clock, that's what I noticed was the trucks going by on 94. It was a far cry from some of the other parks in northern Michigan we've been to, which you sit around the campfire late at night and there is nothing other than maybe a few animal noises. So, we're still in a fairly populated area of the state. 94 is a major truck route from Detroit to Chicago and Indianapolis and varying places in and around the Midwestern area. So you're going to get a lot of noise through here.
I wouldn't say it's loud enough to be disturbing. I mean, the summertime, you're going to hear people's air conditioners too, right? So it's all kind of
Yeah,
that
those
background,
were also going last night.
that background white noise. I just wanted to mention it, that you do hear it. And I thought it was, to me, the rustic campground being even a little bit louder was kind of interesting. So,
But looking at it from a proactive standpoint, it's right off 94. So this is super accessible because, I mean, you literally like hop off the exit, drive a mile and a half, and you're at the state park. I think that is also why it makes it so popular for the out-of-state folks as well. People in the Chicago, Gary, Indiana, South Bend area, they like to come up here because they don't necessarily have this type of camping or dunes where they're at. So it gets them out of the city and the closest place that they can find for some recreation opportunities.
another big part of Warren Dunes State Park is the massive beach that we've talked about. And this is in the day use area, which is huge. And I'm assuming the parking lot is this big because of all the people that were lined up
Oh my God.
to get into the park this morning, headed for the beach.
Like you couldn't even see the end of the line from when we drove past coming from the campground. And it's only 11 o'clock and the parking lot is probably half to 3/4 full already. And there are people just streaming in here.
Yeah, and some of it is on the way to the day use area. I don't know, maybe a mile drive down the paved road.
Yeah.
There's picnic areas people can pull off, and you kind of set up with picnics and grills and that kind of thing. But the majority of people seem to be headed here for the beach. The beach behind us looks a lot emptier than it is. I think it's deceiving because of the size of the beach. There's a lot of people here already.
This is definitely someplace where you're going to want your sunscreen, your umbrella, your wagon. The beach is huge, and it's quite a distance from the parking lot too if you want to set up close to the water. You might struggle with your wagon a little bit, but it's probably easier than trying to carry everything because you're going to want your blankets and your food and your cooler. You're going to come here for the day because if that line is any indication, you're not going to be able to like zip out and come back in. So when you're here, you're going to be here.
Now, one advantage here, if you want to spend the day, is there's all kinds of amenities. There's a nice bath building that's here, a bathroom building. There's a couple buildings that offer like ice cream and Italian ice.
There's some food trucks, which
Yeah.
that's something new we haven't seen anywhere else.
Food trucks are set up. They rent kayaks here. There's all kinds of different things you can do once you're in, and I think that's the goal: is you get in and you stay all day. You don't want to come and go from here because of the lines.
There's a nice gift shop here, which has everything from some of your basics like your sunscreen, chapstick, to inflatable water tubes and t-shirts and tchotchkes for the state park, all sorts of things. So they've definitely set it up here that there's pretty good operations going on.
This store is, if you missed the one at the campground, there's a big campground store that also has inflatables and all kinds of, t-shirts and that kind of stuff, plus firewood and camping supplies, different things that you might need. But the store is overflowing. It's not a real big building, but it overflows to the outside, to the street. They have a lot of stuff that you can get there.
The store at the beach is the same way. It's literally inside and out and packed to the gills, but I'm pretty sure it has everything you need and more.
I can definitely see where this is a very popular place on a hot summer day like today for people from all kinds of states, not just Michigan, because we're so close to the border. We're seeing a lot of out-of-state license plates, and I'm excited to see people here using Warren Dunes State Park.
One of the big features here, as we've talked about, is the dunes. And right behind us in the parking lot of the day use area is Tower Dune. And it's a popular spot for climbing to the top. There's a lot of people already making that hike up there today. And then it's going to be a nice run down, jot across the parking lot and head straight for the water because you and your feet are going to be hot by the time you're done. If you're looking for a park with a really nice campground, a really nice beach, a lot to do, near the freeway, with really warm water and a lot of sand, this is the park for you.
Whether you like all that stuff or not, find a park and get to it. Keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.